count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
You have found Daniel Donato's Lost Highway.
That lost highway.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Lost Highway podcast. This is Daniel Donato, and I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves right now. I really do. I hope you're in a positive state of mind. The spirit of truth is amongst us. The spirit of truth is amongst us. I've been thinking a lot about it. I saw a comedy show for the first time the other day, and it was at Zany's here in Nashville, and there were people wearing their masks. There were people ordering Bud Lights, people ordering chicken tenders, people snapping Instagram stories, and the whole thing was real. It was a real social event that I really have been craving for. I haven't gone to see a live performance at all since March. I love it. I miss it. I'm glad to see that it's coming back, and I'm very happy about that. I think the humans gather to see things that vibrate on our levels of enjoyment. We've been doing it for hundreds of years and maybe thousands, and we're going to do it for more. But the spirit of truth, I think a comedy show is very similar to music, a concert. I believe on a level of intention, it is very similar to that of a concert. It is the wrangling of the energy of an audience. The performer takes the whole room and they lasso it in, right? So there are 5 performers. Brendan Schaub was headlining, Theo Vaughn came on, and then 3 other dudes came on. They were all sincerely funny. I just don't know their names. And I feel that this lasso in which we rope people in is one of talent, right? And it's one of hard work. It's one of conviction, confidence, vision, true things. And I think you can take all these variables I just mentioned and just boil them down to truth. I think the truth is the soil in which these flowers grow from. I think truth affects the way that you stand. Truth affects the way you look at people in their eyes and the way that you say words. Truth affects everything that is within your scope of vision and also without. So to be grounded in the most truth possible will yield the best results. Easier said than fucking done. It's not easy at all. A vibration as a human that is close to as pure of a personal truth to that human as can be provides fruits of labor that stand against the odds. To seek out the truth is to invite it into your perception of your daily life. You need it on a daily basis. It's like water. Truth seems to be the ultimate leveler. Whenever I find that I'm more attracted to a piece of work, when I'm more attracted to a human, when I'm attracted to a performance, anything, a show, a podcast, it's because there's more truth there. I really think it is that simple, yet also that complex. And if we're going to worry about anything in any moment, any place in time, odds are you could just use a dosage of truth to either be your sole solution or to at least provide clarity and light towards the destination of your day. Truth, beauty, and goodness are timeless variables, right? If you're trying to get something off the ground now, or you're trying to stay on course with something, you're always going to need truth. Whether it was yesterday, tomorrow, a year from now, 3, 5, 10 years from now, you're always going to need this. So why not try to carve out as much of it as possible? When I was at Zany's the other night, and they made me order a bullshit cup of popcorn for $3 just so I could order a Bud Light for $7.50 a bottle, which is robber baron prices, my friends. I do want to support Zany's, and that's why I'm happy about it, but that's fine. The truth of the performances coming from the comedians made it go down better. I think truth wins. So if you guys can stay patient, stay persistent, and stay positive, seek that truth. Just like Carl Jung said, you can judge the depth of somebody's character by how much truth they can take. The more truth, the better. Y'all, keep rolling on, keep trucking. Stay cosmic. The thing about country music is that if you're going to like an artist, it's because you're going to like the tone that they emit from their voice and you love the stories that they tell, right? So things that are based in truth and the human element of a person. And Caitlyn Smith and these variables, she offers them in such a way that is so pure and beautiful, you can't help but be attracted to it. She put out her second full-length record this year called Supernova. We talk about that on this podcast. We talk about how she goes about touring with her husband, who is also in her band, and how she raises her children on the road, how she got into music, how she pivoted during COVID-19. We talk about the stars. We talk about what exactly is a supernova. We talk about personality tests. It's really a phenomenal conversation that goes in a way that I was not expecting. And I love meeting people in Nashville that are willing to take that train ride with me. Without further ado, Miss Caitlyn Smith. And here we are. Okay, beautiful. How are you doing today? What's been going on?
I am so good. I am here in Minnesota right now, and it just snowed a bunch. And so just been enjoying that. I think we probably have like 2 inches, 3 inches. Yeah, enough to like, and it's sticking, enough to like play around in. So my kids are pumped about it, but I don't know. I'm like, ugh.
This is something that's very real. So like having grown up here in Nashville, we get 4 seasons. And I think kind of emotionally, it's like, I really love the fall season, but there's something that is really depressing about winter.
I grew up in Minnesota, lived like 10 years in Nashville. And so what I appreciate about Nashville is like the fall, in my opinion, the best season is like super long, drawn out. Same with the spring. It's like a long season. But like Minnesota, we get like blips of like spring and blips of fall, but then it's like mostly winter, which it's hard for me to stomach. It's like most of the year just freezing cold.
I mean, man, it's like, it's that, so in my band, there's the gentleman named Nicholas Fry, who's from Iowa, and he always is telling us just kind of how ridiculous Nashvillians are, because we really fear the snow. And in Iowa, it snows for 6 months a year.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And it is funny, like, living in Nashville after growing up in Minnesota, like if it snows, everything like shuts down. Like you can't go anywhere. All the bread and all the milk is gone from the grocery store. And here in Minnesota, we're like, okay, you put the snow tires on your truck, you put the plow on, there's hardier people, I feel like, in the north. So
man, I'll tell you what, that is absolutely a real thing. And all the touring that I've done, I don't know if you've toured Canada much, but it's just like
little, yeah.
the way that culture embraces weather is completely different than the way we do it in the South here. I mean, it's wild, Do you like Minnesota more than Tennessee, you think?
I mean, it's hard to compare. Growing up here, like I have such a deep love and connection and appreciation for Minnesota. Right. It's so beautiful. Summertime here, glorious. I can't do like southern summers where it's like so hot you can't go outside. So
right.
I don't know. I feel like I appreciate both areas in different seasons.
And that's like, honestly, like, so the thing I think is like really fantastic is to like, there's this concept where I forget who said it. I think it's a guy named David Meltzer. I think it was a fellow named David Meltzer. It was like a Deepak Chopra thing, or he was like, really the thing that you have to do is like find a way to be positive in whatever environment that you're in. Like whether that's like a work situation or it's like a geographic location, just finding ways to enjoy where you're at presently. And it's like, I don't know, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job up there.
And that's so beautiful. And it's really like the theme I feel of 2020 is just really trying to like dig in and find those bright spots, right? And focus your energy, because it has been such a heavy, hard year for so many people. Like try your hardest to focus your energy on like the beautiful things or the sweet, tiny little things, like what I've learned this year is just kind of like just going really, really small. I'm a dreamer, like I'm a big planner too. And so I'm constantly like future casting and like planning out my whole year. And so this was really hard. And I've been really shook with like, now I can't like plan everything out. And so really learning to like go super small and enjoy the little things about today, whether it's like making a great meal or just sitting and like putting my phone away and playing with my kid and just like enjoying that little moment. And so if I can just take that out of 2020 and continue that, like, and holding on to that, I feel like it could be a win.
How old's your kid?
I've got 2 boys. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
That's insane. Oh my God.
It's so crazy. So it's really nuts. I mean, the last 4 or 5 years of my life have been so very full, so very busy. I call it a bit of a shit show. But my husband and I we love adventure and we love to just make things crazier. And so, my husband plays in my band on the road with me.
What?
We tour together. We bring the kids. We've got a nanny that helps watch the kids while we're on stage and holds us all together. But we're just like this traveling circus.
How do you actually to work with your partner on a professional level really is no easy task. And that's something that I think a lot of people romanticize in kind of like that Johnny and June kind of a way, but to really make it happen, to really make it work, on a business level, that is no easy feat. I once, the first serious girlfriend I ever had, honestly, she's so unbelievably talented. And she was on the show Nashville. She was an actress on that show. And there were several times I'd be on the show with her trying to play, or I would play on the recordings, or we would tour with the Nashville band and go to all these various Midwestern states, et cetera, New York City, and wherever Nashville, the show was big. And it was hard. I remember there being a lot of ego, and weird feelings happening. And obviously I was a child and I didn't really know anything when I was 20. Not saying I know anything now either at 25. But so could you speculate a little bit on is there any ego and how do you guys make that work? Communication and things like that. I'm so fascinated by communication.
Yeah, and such a great question. I mean, I feel very, very grateful for my husband in general. He is such a beautiful presence and a beautiful, we are different in a lot of ways and similar in a lot of ways. And I think we balance each other out really well.
Have that.
All that to say, doing everything together is a challenge. So we're married, we're parenting together, and when we tour, sometimes we scale it down and it's just the 2 of us. And so he's acting as road manager and he's acting as roadie and settling up at the night. And so, he wears a lot of hats. And so I am forever so grateful.
Sure.
To him, but it is definitely a balancing act of you kind of got to keep, so you can keep it moving on the road. You kind of got to keep we try not to stuff it all, but you've got to keep kind of a level of okay, you just said that, but I'm not going to dig into that right now because we have to play a show in 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And so it's a lot of choosing the times, because you're constantly together to okay, let's unpack that now. Let's leave that right now. And then also finding time on the road, which is a challenge, to just give each other space.
Come on.
And it's in any touring band or whatever, you need to figure it out anyways, but just honoring that in each other and okay, I'll take the kids this morning, you go get coffee and have your quiet time. Finding that balance is super, super important for us.
My gosh. And it's that kind of thing too, where it's I feel like the yin and yang is something that I've really been heavy into that thought lately, where it's I can't think of anything in my life, whether it's a person, whether it's a gig, whether it's any project or anything, there's always a good side. And then there's a side that is you wouldn't expect and that you might not deem as positive. And there's also unexpected positive things. And so it's the concept of touring with your partner, that is, kudos to you. That is beautiful. How does how does that concept apply to you during COVID? What has happened to you that, of course, was terrible and shitty? Your record came out on March 13th. We canceled a weekend of sold out shows on that date. But what has been good and what has been bad? What's the yin and yang so far of being about 8 months into COVID?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so maybe focus first on the obvious, really hard shit of it all. And so,
sure.
Right. So March 13th record comes out, as an artist, you put years of your life writing and recording and you put energy in your heart into an album. And then to have it met with the Corona monster swallowing up any attention that it might get was really pretty devastating. And all of kind of the hopes and dreams.
Much like, did that make you feel? I remember feeling small. Like, I'm like, no one's going to care about me. Yeah. Why would they? Like, because
I felt very small, for sure. That I can identify with that. Like, felt really small and sad. But I think my immediate feelings went to, like, we were on the road in Detroit when we got the call, like, the tours canceled. Like, you need to just rent a car and drive home to Nashville. And so I remember just being like, my kids weren't with me that weekend. Like, our kids were back at Nashville and just kind of freaking out. Like, I just need to get home to my kids and, like, hunker down. Like, I just like circle the wagons and like be safe. I think that was the first thought in my mind. And then it was like, it took a few weeks to unpack like the sadness of the music part of it. Because I think we were all initially just shocked and like, freaking out. Yeah,
totally.
All that to say, it obviously was like, it was met with a lot of difficulty, and then a mourning process, and then how the heck do we figure this out now? And so, just kind of got creative with trying to reach humans out there with the music. And, a big goal of mine is really to just be a bright spot in people's life. And like, that's just what I feel like I'm put on this earth to do. If I can do it through singing, awesome. If I can do it through whatever, I just want to try and be joy for people. So my goal is to try to focus on that.
Wow. Put on this earth to do. I've been thinking a lot about that lately. So my grandfather passed recently, and he died in a way that I hadn't really like ever thought about, like, what's a great way to die? But he died in a way that was so beautiful. He died on a house on a property that he owned with his wife that loved him. And all of his grandchildren, aside from us that live here in Tennessee, they live in Jersey, the rest of the family, they were all going over to his house that morning to go and make wine with him. And it's like, there's like no more beautiful way to go. Like, you have like, and so I realized like, okay, whatever shit I'm worried about at 25, like, I got to at least try to put some of this aside and think like, what's the purpose of life? And definitely children are part of that. And then definitely music is part of that. And so aside from children, because that we could talk about all day, something I'm really interested in is people who find their passion in music and they find their calling in music. People say they're put on this earth to do that. Do you remember like what it was when you're like, yeah, this is why I'm here? And like, this is why I feel justified doing that. Do you remember that? Was that a moment? Was it like an epiphany for you? Or was it kind of always around?
I mean, it was like, I feel like kind of a slow opening of the present of music in a way. Whoa. Where, right? I kind of feel like when I first experienced it, like my mom played a little piano around the house. My dad played a little guitar. And so I remember just like, oh, this is really cool. This is really special. Like watching my dad like sing an Eagles song. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Do you remember which song?
Take It Easy. Yeah.
So, can we talk about, like, have you heard Glenn Frey's son sing that song?
No.
It's unbelievable. So we were listening to it the other day because Vince Gill's in that band now, as everyone knows.
Yes. It's awesome.
Yeah, like Vince Gill reminds us all that he's the Hercules. And it's like, but Glenn Frey's son sings that song and like he sings it just like his dad. And he's like my age or something like that. And I realized like, man, like a song that timeless, it's not Glenn Frey's song. It's our song.
Oh my gosh, I got chills when you said that.
It's so true, right? Like that song really is, it's its own life form, and
absolutely. So all of those like beginning songs that are like deep, deep, deep in my brain and in my bones, like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That was the one where my mom would play. You're like, that's like a song that transcends like any, like what? Where did that song?
Israel Kamanukwa. Is that the guy's name? The guy who broke our hearts years ago with that ukulele cover of that song.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So good. What?
It doesn't matter who wrote it. It doesn't matter. It's just the singer is the messenger of that world. That's all.
Totally. And as a songwriter now, we go years after those like formative moments. And like, I just kind of like, wait for the day where I could just kind of like open up and be that vessel for maybe that song that can transcend, that's what I wait for.
Man, I think I really like, it's really funny now because I feel like the market tells us like what's really good. We're like, even like when you and I were first consuming music, you're talking about those basic levels, like those basic songs. Like my 9-year-old sister, like on TikTok has a whole different process on how like the first 20 songs that are going to hit her are going to be way different than,
right.
And it's like, that's kind of cool because now it's like, nothing's being fed to us that is like, that we can't just say no to. Like the truth can really like travel fast now. Like some kid who like lives in Arkansas can have a viral video and that could be a hit song for a second. And it's
right.
like, I kind of love that. And it's like, it seems like people like, it's like a long way getting around this. It's like, it seems like certain songs are like beamed down.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem like they wrote it. Like if you listen to some John Prine songs, you're like, man, he just like tuned in that day to something that's really special. And I feel like that way about like Eric Church and then, especially like, what's the song that, I don't know if you're a big Brandy Clark fan at all.
Oh, she's unbelievable. Yes.
Like, Who You Thought I Was.
Which record is that one on?
I think that's off her newest record. Again, I'm a moron, so I don't know a lot about records. About which.
I feel like she's tapped into something though as a writer. Like she's one of my new we've just started writing this year, and she's one of my new favorites for sure. She's tapped into something too. When I listen to Brandy, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's an old soul. I love that.
You call it old soul, yeah. Old soul's a weird thing. That's a weird concept. People have always said I had an old soul, and I as I get older, I don't know. I want to feel younger as I get older.
Yeah,
I want to have a young soul. It's kind of this weird contrast.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Though?
I don't think having an old soul is a bad thing, though. It's usually a tribute to like a compliment. Like, wow, you're really deep. You're really like tuned in, plugged in. I don't know. You know more than someone your age should know. I feel like that's what it kind of.
God, I hope so. I hope so. Maybe my soul, maybe they're just saying like my soul has arthritis.
Right.
You know who's really tapped in my opinion, is who just really is Ashley McBryde.
Oh God, she's so good. I can't.
Like I've been watching her play since like I'm from Nashville. So I started my career by busking down on Broadway when I was 14.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And so I've seen Ashley gig downtown and like, take shots like of tequila at like 1 PM and just like, and it's like crazy. And it's like to see her, like, I remember like not being super effective when I saw her then, but then got a chance to tour with her for like 30 something shows, in 2018. And man, it was really like a transcendent performer who like through each night, through each room, through each market, through each, piece of like of garbage that life had to throw at us that day with sound check, et cetera. And herself included, she always delivered and she always transcended. I don't know if you've ever worked with her or collaborated.
I've not she's on my like bucket list of humans that I want to sit in a room with for sure. And I'm such a fan. It will happen someday. I know. I see it.
Vision, right? What are your thoughts on vision? And because you're talking about how you project big plans, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like, so plans are obviously very like very literal things. Like I'm doing this on Tuesday at 6. I feel like vision's more abstract. And the thing that's crazy too is like you can totally see the difference in artists that really like develop vision on their own accord and the ones that do not. It doesn't relate to the success of them, but just definitely like in the quality of their delivery.
It's so true. I mean, I think vision is one of the most important things, even as humans. Okay, we even back away from the music industry. If you don't have like something that you're like chasing toward or a goal that you're working toward, like, and you're just kind of floating, right, like that can be really, really hard. Or even a vision of like, you know, because your thoughts control your feelings. And if you're not continually having like those like true, positive, beautiful thoughts, then you're going to feel like crap, you know? And so like, I just attribute vision as like, that's like literally one of the most important things besides like, loving your like brothers and sisters all around you, like,
oh, wow.
have vision for your life, whatever you're doing, music or not.
Have you ever like pursued something that wasn't music as a career?
As a career, I've always pursued music as like, that's like how I want to make money. I think, I don't know, maybe because I don't know how to do anything else, but, you know, and so for me, that it was a vision. Music was my vision since I was like probably 13 years old. And I started cold calling venues and I was like, I want to do this for a job. This is cool. Like, funny.
At 13, you were cold calling venues. So I guess that purpose of music unveiled itself to you. You're talking about how it's kind of like it's an opening present. That happened before you were 13. So you must have been really young when you found purpose in music.
Yeah. And so, well, yeah, we kind of like skipped ahead a little bit, but, you know, to continue unwrapping that present, I mean, my parents played a little. I started singing my first solo, like in church. And I remember like people being affected by it. I remember people saying like, wow, this is actually like, you're strangely actually good at this. And I remember like, oh, that's kind of fun. And doing that and then getting like response from people like, you're affecting me and feeling like, well, that's cool. And so the more like I wanted to do it more because it felt good. It felt good to like connect with people and move people.
Magic. It really is magic. Like you're going to tell me I'm just going to make a noise from my mouth and it's going to make you do something?
Yeah. You're crying right now because I just sang a song. That's amazing.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Like, come on.
So cool. So that, I mean, that was part of the unwrapping the present. Like the more I did it, the more I realized like I was pushing into it. Like, this is cool.
That's
I love
insane, man. Do you remember like so you sang, you grew up in church, like doing that whole thing. Do you remember what song it was? It was like an old hymn?
The very first song was a Christmas song and it was called the Way in a Manger. It wasn't Away in the Manger. It was like a different version of it.
Oh.
Like the way in the manger, no crib for a bed. Like a different melody.
Oh, beautiful.
It was very beautiful. So anyways, that was the very first song that started it all.
Was that the key of G sharp?
Well, my piano's out of tune. I think, C sharp is the one.
No, C sharp. Okay, close.
Close. I love that I'm right here. I could check it.
My gosh, that's like, that's so funny. Like the thing that I've always found, like, the people who get into music by realms of like the spiritual world of doing it in church or doing it like in like the hymnal like approach, like that always seems to like manifest in ways that are like really true. I got into music like in a way that's not nearly as like tried and true as that. Like my thing was like Guitar Hero when I was 12.
Oh, that's awesome though.
It's worked out in nice ways, and I definitely feel a spiritual connection like as I get older with music and I try to explain it like what it is to myself, like what it is. It's like there's definitely communion with something that is not of this earth. Like when you're performing and there really is a room tied in to like, you can't quite explain what that whole deal is. So it's kind of beautiful, like how we can come at it from like Guitar Hero, you come at it from church.
Right.
Like we still kind of arrive at the same goal in the same place. Like
it's so true. I mean, it transcends. It's the same gift that everybody's opening. It's this gift of music that it's this language that we can all speak and understand and like connect with. It's amazing.
Isn't that insane? I was reading an interview of yours earlier, and the person who was commenting on Supernova, which is your latest release, aside from Supernova Deluxe, is they were talking about how COVID changed the light of the project. And I definitely like shrugged my eyes because it's like, well, yeah, like COVID's changed the light of like every musical project. But the thing that's really fascinating to me is like to hear people talk about like how like to hear it from the horse's mouth. So it's like how it applies to us is like when we put out a record in August, it had a John Prine cover on it. And then like literally just last night, John Prine's camp like reached out after, months after his passing back in April. They're like, we just heard this cover. This, everyone's loving this and this is really beautiful and we thank you for the notion. Oh. And I'm like, my God, like you're telling, like I would never have expected on March 13th that, John would have passed and that the record would have came out and then that the people who are working at Oh Boy Records and who are, who are close to what he was doing would hear it and then that the effects of COVID would make them feel a certain way. It's really heavy. So, you putting out the songs as a collection with Supernova and then Supernova Deluxe and then COVID changing everything. How has it like personally affected your perspective on the project?
Oh, wow. That's a meaty question because the songs specifically, some of them take on new meaning.
Right.
Like I was saying before, also when I think of the project as a whole, like it is like tainted in this COVID light of this is my COVID project, and so there's a sadness when I think of the project.
Yeah, totally.
Because I feel like it hasn't been, I think of the front of the album and it's like this back bend and it's this open expression,
How do you bend your spine? Like
a lot of yoga.
So is body yoga different than like the only yoga I'm familiar with is like Kundalini yoga, which I think is like a sexual yoga, which I'm not.
I don't even know.
I'm not even into it. Like, apparently,
no, this is just like straight up like hot yoga, a lot of heart openers. We're doing like kind of back bends, but for me, it was like that was such a beautiful visual of like, physically like opening your heart and sharing it with people, right? Because I feel like that's a lot of what this record was. Mm-hmm. And so it's like this open, like beautiful project is just like also met with like just not the fullest expression that I imagined of how it would play out. So there's some sadness wrapped in it, but then also beauty, there's people that have found this album and it's become like their like warm fuzzy sweater during this like weird year in a way where I've gotten messages of like my husband and I are sitting, we're drinking wine, and this song has become like our lockdown anthem. And so like I never would have planned that or thought that, which is so cool. And so and it's also the piece of like not being able to play it live for people. Because I think it's part of the process as an artist. Like you put your work into the record, you release the record, and then you tour the album. And so you're going around and you're sharing it, you're connecting with your fans, and you're sharing that it becomes everybody's music in this moment, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's part of that with this record that is missing, that it's almost like I'm not really getting to go sit in rooms with people and share these songs together.
Wow.
Sharing something over the screens, as in 2020, we're all sharing, living our best Zoom life, but that piece is missing. And so I'm conflicted about how I feel about it. It's met with sadness and gratefulness, but it also feels like incomplete, like, I don't know.
When you say you put work into the record, something that I truly learned about myself is one thing in a big way, which is like for the process for me to put out a record, I had to have like played the songs live several times.
Yeah.
So was that part of this process for you?
A little bit. I played some of these live and tried some of these out. Writers rounds and a thing in Nashville where you just kind of go out and you play them acoustically. I feel like that's been a really great gauge for me to see how songs hit.
Yeah, totally. Really,
so some of them, it was a process of like trying. It's like you're trying a pair of pants. How does this song fit?
That's great. Oh my gosh. Definitely my favorite pants. Like I have definitely shifted pants during COVID.
Shifted pants.
I have shifted pants. I have pants that like I'm in the Carhartt like work pant mode. You know, it's like super baggy and like the impressive like Nashville Monday night whiskey jam jeans are like not the vibe.
Yeah. That's amazing. I know I'm like full on living that like yoga pant mom life for sure.
Is that weird to see yourself turn into, like, I see it all the time. Like I turn into stereotypes. Like you turn into stereotypes because stereotypes are not bad in certain regards, like, cause they're real.
Right.
So it's like, that's funny that like you're a mom that wears yoga pants.
I know it is funny. And I like to fight it and like put on lipstick and like get a little rock and roll every once in a while to just, you know, shake it up a bit so I don't fall fully into that.
The funny thing too is like I thought about it like on stage. Like sometimes I'll see myself. I'm like, man, like how am I going to look at people on stage and like try to be a person on stage anymore? Like I'm literally wearing I'm wearing Birkenstocks and sweatpants.
Yes.
Like what's going on? Like how am I going to be on stage? Like
I love it. I was just thinking today in the shower about Prince. This is weird. I was like thinking like, what did Prince wear just on like a day he was chilling at his house? And I'm like, I bet you Prince wore his show clothes all day long, every day. I like to imagine that. Like he's eating breakfast, but he's in his like velvet suit. Maybe.
He like spills cashew milk on it, and then it's like he's
like, oh shit, it's ruined. Or his like cat rubs up against his like real nice suede pants and gets up. I don't know. I like to think about that, and I'm like, okay, maybe no yoga pants today. Maybe I need to channel a little more Prince. I don't know.
That's a real thing though. Like definitely like that was something I really, really learned once I started touring full time when I was, I think 20, so about 5 years ago. So it was like, man, like you really gotta like it. When you're a musician, there's a certain like embodiment of a character that you are.
Yeah.
You know, because you kind of have to like shift a mental zone in order to deliver something that's transcendent, you know? And it's funny how much clothes actually play into that vibe. And it's funny like how much like lifestyle, like exercising and you do yoga, right? So things like that, like really play into that lifestyle. And the thing that really terrifies me about COVID is like, I feel like musician Daniel's rusty.
I feel that. Yeah. Well, because when you're constantly like hopping on a stage, putting on your best character version, it's like you're constantly like you've got reasons to show up all the way, right?
All the way. You've
got to show up all the way, mentally, physically, like throw on the sequence and the bell bottoms, baby. Like you got to show up. With COVID, right. You don't even need to wear pants, right? You can wear your Birkenstocks. Like you're not fully showing up to the character. And so I don't know. Yeah, it is weird. It's a trip, right?
It's strange. Like I feel like it's like going to like really change the way like we approach performing.
Yeah.
You know, and at least in some way, like I loved Eric Church's. Did you watch the ACMs last night?
I missed it.
Yeah.
I watched some of the highlights.
You didn't miss too much, to be honest, in my opinion. But definitely, like Eric Church's speech was insane. He really thinks like, which I believe, and he's such a hero. It's music's going to be the thing that really brings it back.
I feel that,
at least in America. Do you ever?
I mean, I got chills. I immediately just like thought of like. You think of festivals. Think about the first time you're going to be in a crowded room of people listening to your favorite artists. I think everyone's going to bawl like a baby.
It's going to be heavy. Have you gotten the message yet where it was like, hey, you're the last show that I saw?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time.
And I'm like, my God, like that freaks me out. Like I'm the last show you saw this year.
Oh my gosh.
Like what? Like what a responsibility.
I know.
My gosh.
I know.
That's insane. Were you told? So you were on the road. And you were opening with, what was it? I think Little Big Town.
Little Big Town, which was amazing. It was theaters.
Yeah.
Beautiful shows.
I feel
like I got like couple months of 2020 that were like, yeah, that was awesome.
They started out like guns. It was like the Kentucky Derby. It was just like, I'm like a racehorse with blinders on. We were like doing fantastic. And it was like,
okay.
Where were y'all? Where were y'all when the call happened?
Yeah, we were in Detroit. We had flown up there, and my husband and I were the only ones on the plane wearing masks, which is a trip. My husband took it very seriously. Like, he was one of the early, like, this is going to get bad kind of guys. He was right. I mean, and he was like, we're wearing our masks, and nobody had them. It was so weird. But I just remember, like, it was like slow motion. I remember sitting at the bar, drinking a martini, the TV's on, and like, we're not really talking much because it just feels heavy and weird. Sure. NBA's canceled. Tom Hanks has COVID. Like, we're like, this is like a bad movie. This is horrible.
Tom Hanks.
Martinis. My manager calls. He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, everything's canceled. What? Go home. Get a rental car. Be safe.
Oh,
wait for further instructions. It was like, what?
Holy shit. Are you serious?
It was so like, I need to write that down because, it was so trippy.
Do you write journals? Do you do that kind of thing?
Yeah, sometimes I get like, back and forth. Sometimes I'm really heavy into journals, and then most of the time I forget.
I know. You got life. Like, you got kids and yoga to do.
I know.
Man, my agent, Doug at William Morris, we were on the phone probably, I think on March 13th, we were on the phone 8 times that day.
God, where were you in the world?
So we were in Richmond, Virginia. And we were in Richmond, Virginia, and it was wild. So Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers had like a sold out show that night, I think like 20 miles away. And those are my heroes. Like, and so they canceled their show because it's it's an arena. And our session's going to run out. Let's log out and log back in. Is that cool?
That's cool with me. Yep. Okay. I just updated to the newest version of Zoom.
Zoom's so strange. I just like...
That looks sharper.
Yeah, now all of a sudden you're 1081p. It's just like 1p more.
Right, just one. 1p more.
I wanted to ask about some of the aesthetic that like I noticed that you use a lot. Everyone that follows me knows that they prescribe to cosmic country, which is like, this is it's like an approach to country music that's more with like a jam band element, but like aesthetically, like it's very much like it's like tie-dyes and Levi's and space elements. And your aesthetic is so cool. It's just ridiculously wild. And I wanted to ask, looking at Starfire and Supernova, there's red, I notice, is a big part. And you play with light in like these dark ways. And then looking at your Instagram, your IGTV series, where it's very much that cool cosmic backdrop. I wanted to just kind of ask what inspires your aesthetic and your approach to that concept.
I love that. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I mean, I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with the stars. I'm obsessed with trippy, I mean, the record's called Supernova because I can't even handle that that's a real thing in the world, in the universe.
Supernova, aside from Oasis, what really is supernova? I don't even know what that is.
A supernova is, by definition, you look it up on Wikipedia, it is the final moments of a star. It's its fullest expression, before it dies.
Before it dies.
Before it dies. So it's like a star burning out, but it's the brightest, most beautiful, most intense, crazy expression of a star.
Can we think about the ridiculous irony that's involved there, where we're all about sad being dying, but maybe the most beauty is to be found at?
See, that's what I have chills just talking about this. I mean, that's why the whole idea came about was, I was watching my little kid playing in the backyard and thinking this life is moving by so quickly. And I just started writing this song. It turned into Supernova, and writing these tiny little vignettes of that make life so sweet. And then I brought it to my friend Amy Mayo, and we sat down and we got this picture of a supernova. And we're like, what is that? Like, let's talk about this. We were on Wikipedia, like, and we saw like it's the fullest expression of a star. And both her and I have been like, every time we write, we end up like talking about stars or crazy shit in the universe.
Yeah.
So anyway, we see that and it's like, okay, this is the fullest expression. Like, what a perfect picture of like how we should be living our lives, like in the brightest, beautiful blast that we possibly can be. And so that is that supernova. I mean, and it became the record title because, you know, all of these songs are like their own little blasts of human emotion, like their own little supernovas in a way. So,
I love some metaphors, and like that is really beautiful. That's astounding. That's really astounding. I love that. So you're definitely curious with what's going on up there. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I kind of take in something that's so grand, like the stars, like when I, you know, looking at telescope pictures and things like that, or even just standing at the top of a mountain being like, what the heck? Like, I feel like it does this thing where it makes you feel so small.
Yeah.
But in a way that is so beautiful. It's not like I'm just so small and insignificant. It's this way of like,
right.
Wow, I have a chance to like, I'm like breathing and living and loving and feeling. And like I have these humans in my life, like it shakes me into my humanity in a way that I can't quite explain. And so that's why all the star images, because it's like, wow. When I kind of take that stuff in, it just makes me want to like, I don't know, like put it all out. I don't know.
Like, it really makes you want to shine and be you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, my God, like, so how crazy is that? Like, so when we think about, and I have so many friends, like growing up in Spring Hill, like Tennessee, an hour south of Nashville, it was where the Saturn plant was. And it's a hardworking blue collar town. So I have a lot of friends that got married at 20 and are having kids now. And they're in $200,000 in debt and they're working a job that they hate. And I have a lot of friends that are doing that. And it's like, listen, like if you think about it in the sense of like, when you confront the things that obviously make your mortality real in front of your eyes, right. You always want to lean into the thing that you love doing.
Right. It's like, so true.
So it's like, why don't we do that always? Like, do you ever think about that? Like, I feel like us, in people who pursue music, not all of them, but the people who end up making a dent and creating a fan base and creating a community of people that they can communicate to, we're kind of crazy.
Right.
Like yeah. Kind of crazy. It's like, it's wild. But you're just leaning into doing what you're doing. But do you ever think about like how like literally crazy it is? Like, it's an insane thing to do, to like go and pursue a career. And like, it's actually wild.
It's wild.
It's just you being you, right? I'm sure you don't ever think about it in too much heavy detail, deeper than that.
I don't dwell on it too much, but I do know that it is weird and special. And I mean, I love being in Nashville and like fully embrace that community and like adore that community. But I think a big reason like why I love just coming back to Minnesota and being here too is like,
right.
I can get out of that. And you know what I mean? The monotony of like, we're all in this weird music industry together and it's fun to be in a community like that, but it's also fun to like step away.
You have to, right? Like it kind of like refreshes your approach to the craft.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Did you find that there's like a great connection between maybe conceptually between Supernova and Starfire? Like, because a lot happens in those 2 years, right? Like, so you get a child within those 2 years.
Yeah, totally.
So you grew as a woman and you grew as a partner and then you grew as a performer. And so is there a connection there that was intentional?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that I was going to like, I'm going to write Starfire and then it's going to be another star themed record. Like I'm just, I didn't like intentionally like write Supernova with the thought of like, that's the next step. It just naturally happened where the song Supernova fell out. And kind of this set of songs I started kind of like pulling together. And I was like, well, this is what this feels like. It's like Starfire was this, and Supernova feels like even more of an expression, like even like the next step. So
Wow.
it wasn't intentional, but I feel like maybe subconsciously it was in there somewhere.
Man, the subconscious can be really loud sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's so funny. So Supernova happened. It fell out, as you say.
Yeah.
And then that started reality for an entire project for you.
Right. It was one of the first songs that I'd written for the record. And it definitely was like, okay, here we go. This is the cornerstone of the record.
Do you write better when there's pressure?
Oh, I don't know.
It's hard to answer, right? So you'd like
it depends entirely on the scenario and what it is.
Right.
I like I was saying before, live for those days where you just show up.
Of course.
And the song like takes an hour and it just kind of falls out. I feel like those are the best songs, the most true, filter-less songs, right?
It's also the songs that I find perform the best.
Yeah.
Like not only like perform metrics wise, but like perform stage wise.
Yeah. They just feel like, yeah, for sure. 100%.
It's a very real thing. Wow. How do you approach the craft of writing? Like in this time, that is.
Yeah.
What's been your process?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of subscribed to right when the pandemic started, lockdown happened. Like I need to stay busy. So I was like, I just need to stay creative. So
Wow.
I just like approach it like anything else, like working out, like eating healthy, like I discipline. And so I made my publisher fill up my calendar 3 to 4 days a week. And I just made myself sat down, even though I wasn't feeling like writing. I wasn't even writing good music right away. Like when all this happened, I was like, I just need to show up. And so, you know, and I'm also like, I realize when I get burned out and tired that I need to like fill up the tank again. And so, you know, I've been listening to a lot of like older records that make me feel kind of nostalgic. They feel safe in a very uncertain time.
Sure.
And so like filling myself up with like that kind of music or like old movies that I like can also help me create as well. And so, but just showing up is the bottom line, right?
Showing up's huge. Like showing up really is huge because the thing of why you need to show up is when you do get beamed something that is really fantastic, you know what to do with it.
Right.
You know how to handle that hot pan kind of.
It's so true. And like, sometimes it's just getting your like gears turning so you can get those rhymes out quick enough or you know, I don't know. And I also find when writing a record that like I'll write probably, you know, I think for Supernova, I maybe wrote 70 or 80 songs and then whittled it down. Like I'll write I write a lot of songs in a year.
Sure.
And so, but I can kind of see like themes like, oh, this is my like bluesy jam vibe. I've got like 5 of those. This is my like power ballad vibe. Like, and then just like I'll kind of write around like a few similar circles of vibes, if that makes sense.
Circles of vibes. Man, that is really cool. I like that a lot. Do you think, do you find that you're known for certain circles of vibes over others?
Oh, I feel like I don't know, it's hard to like assess yourself, but I feel like people know me for like the soulful, like,
yeah.
Hey, I'm the chick with the guitar. I'll get down on my knees. Like, whoa, like I can do the soulful girl.
Yeah.
But then I also like am like the tiny, let's just go me and a guitar, like, and rip your guts out with this lyric kind of girl. So I don't know. I kind of do. Those are kind of a couple circles that I like to sit in, which is very yin and yang, I feel like.
That was literally the thought coming to my mind there. It's like, how funny is that? It's like, and that's so true too.
I'm a Gemini, so that makes sense, right?
I'm so bad at horoscopes. Everyone like,
I mean, I don't even know what it means. I mean, it means that I'm like split personality or something. I don't know.
Oh gosh.
So there we go.
Every time I say I'm an Aries, everyone goes,
oh, yeah.
Like, you don't even know me. Like, what does that even mean?
I know. My husband hates that shit too. He's like, no. I'm not sure. I'm not like, that doesn't mean anything.
I don't think, like, I don't know how you can think it does, like, over like someone's actual. Have you ever taken like a personality test or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I like that stuff. I think it's cool. I'm like ENFP 100%. Like that's
What does
me.
that mean?
It's like extrovert and like it's just Myers-Briggs. I think it's called the Myers-Briggs. Is that what it is?
Myers-Briggs is really cool. I like the Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs.
There's a man, everyone that's having a hard time in COVID needs to get a personality test so you can understand like how you interface with reality.
Yes.
You don't know.
Totally.
Like, my God.
I mean, has it been a deep dive year for you? Have you felt like it's been really like self-reflecting, or have you felt like mostly you're just float, like trying to keep your head above water? What's the vibe?
So the way that it's been for me is that I've tried to stop lying as much as I can. I started with like the biggest thing that I could do, which is try to adhere to truth as much as possible. And I found that I was lying to myself a lot.
Oh, yes. We all do though.
Well, you do in some ways kind of have to.
Right.
But I really like have stopped trying to lie.
That's amazing. There's like 9 ways you lie to yourself or something like that.
Fill me in. What are you talking
about? Hold on. I gotta like look this. I don't want to say it wrong, but things like, you know, some people discount the positive, right?
Oh, is that long? Yeah, I can see that.
Or some people, what's it called? Fortune telling, which is you make up why, you know, this person isn't calling you back. Well, you think that it's because like that, and you're just lying to yourself. You're just making shit up. It's not even true. Like,
I am not. That's insane.
Anyways, I read this book on that sentiment called Feeling Good, and it talks about this cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right.
It talks about, so it's even just knowing those ways that you lie to yourself, like help you to not
awareness.
Realize it's awareness, right? And can help you be honestly happier when you realize, oh, this is just a thought that isn't true. And it's making me feel like garbage when really if I just told the truth, I wouldn't feel like garbage.
Like, if you're going to pay a price for everything you do, so you might as well pay the price for the truth over the price of the lie.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way it goes in life.
Totally. Like, absolutely.
Feeling Good. That is one of the, like, that's like one of the entryway books into that realm of thought, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So are you a big reader? Is that something that you
I'm
do?
Really good at starting books.
You don't have to finish books, man.
I know that about myself though. I know like I'll read until it's like, oh, that's about enough of that. And so I'll get the information that I want or I need in that season. And then my husband, it makes him crazy though. He'll read like 60 books a year. He's like a big reader.
Oh,
so I'm like
a year? That's like more than a week.
Audiobook that. So whatever he's doing,
sure.
Whatever he's working on, there's a book in his ear. Which is
awesome. I'm very much so on that train of like hyper efficiency with time, at least trying to be. It's like, it's definitely real. Do you think, so I noticed on your, is it called Lonely Together?
Yes. Yep.
So that endeavor at its root is definitely what I'm trying to do with this podcast. And I talk to a lot of people who are in music, but a lot of people who aren't. And I'm trying to find like these similarities of like, what is it that like just a successful mind thinks that can be applied to any realm? And we can wrap up with this, but it's like, what are some of the points that you've gathered from that experiment that you've had? And it's like, you've had Bobby Bones and you've had Cam. Did I see Tennille Towns on there?
Yeah.
And like just a lot of, great figures that are, especially female figures that are in the country music realm right now. And it's like, we're saying some admirable stuff, like really beautiful and well thought out dialogue that you had with them as well. So what are some of the things that you learned from that experiment?
I mean, it's been so much fun. And honestly, that whole series, Lonely Together, has been such a bright spot in this year that I never would have done had this not happened. So,
right.
And just being able to pick people's brains and just like, so it really the series circles around like inspiration, creativity, and being inspired by people's stories. And so, the red thread, or like, I feel like most people that I've had on, their stories, like, and honestly, the hero in any good story or movie that you love, like they come up against adversity.
Yep.
They come up against struggles.
Yeah.
And just figure out a way to keep going. And it's really like, and they power through, right? Mm-hmm. It's like just when you thought you couldn't, like you had $10 to your name and you were sleeping in your car, like then all of a sudden you get offered a record deal. Like I feel like it was like there's so many stories like that of especially with when it comes to dreams, with it, which a lot of art and creating, like I'm a songwriter and a musician because there's nothing else I'd rather do. Like it's the only thing I want to do. And so like when you are passionate about something, like being able to literally like put your last dollar on your last ounce of energy into that, to push through everything. I feel like that's so important because, with great risk is great reward as well. And right. So, I don't know. I mean, I think I've interviewed like 25 people. And so it's just like, there's a lot of knowledge. One of my favorite interviews was with my dear friend, Mary Steenburgen. And we talked about her acting career a little bit, but we really talked about her writing career.
I didn't even know she wrote Mary. Yes, there would be no Curb Your Enthusiasm without Mary.
She's mad, right? She's a magical actor, but she's a magical songstress. And like, she's one of my favorites. We won a Critics' Choice Award for one of the songs we wrote together. We tied with Elton John, which is pretty cool.
Are you serious?
That's like one of my exciting things. But the cool thing that I learned from Mary, and I love this, is like, she found this she's always had this passion, but like, she was like, in a different phase of her life. Like, she's like, I'm on the last half of my life. Like, you don't start a new career. She's like, couldn't get it out of her brain. Like that. Everything was songs. And so she just decided to go for it and do it. And everyone was like, you're crazy. I also feel like people saying you're crazy means like, maybe are you onto something? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I love that she's like, you're never too old to like, just go for it. What? I also love that. Like speaking, because I also feel even like, I don't know, I'm like I'm in my 30s and like, I feel like I just got to stick on this path. Well, you don't. Like, that's another lie that you don't have to listen to. Like,
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
No.
You get what? 100 years if you're really, really lucky.
Yeah.
And I just say like, finding those things that you're passionate about that make you happy. Like, you got to just do that. Why not?
Here's like, why not? Because like, you don't even know why you're doing the things you're not passionate about. You're just doing it because you've come up with a reason as to think this is why. But you don't even know the ancillary details that are happening outside of your knowledge that could be affecting your life in a negative way.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's so real.
It's so real.
Well, that's beautiful. Well, hey, thanks for the time today. And
oh my gosh, I could talk to you for hours. This is so much fun.
We didn't get a chance to touch too much on I Can't, but like, my God, I really love that song. It's on my running playlist, and it's like,
oh, thank you.
That's a real thing. Yeah.
To speak to that song, I Can't, really quick. I mean, that song is really, it's a song about change. And I thought of the idea as I was driving by downtown Nashville. I'd lived there for almost 10 years. And like, I am not the same person that I was, thank God, when I moved to this city. And, that did not come without a lot of growing pains and a lot of hardship. Change is a very hard thing. And so, I had this idea of looking at the sky, this city that I used to know, and now kind of seems a little unrecognizable. Like, Nashville, you're so different. But it's like, it's an exciting thing and it's a beautiful thing. But like, when you turn in personally, change is exciting. It's beautiful, but it's like one of the hardest things that we do as humans. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I Can't really is. It sounds like a heartbreak song to some. And to me, I'm, always trying to break up with the parts of myself that don't serve me or don't serve other people. And so, and sometimes it just feels like you can't.
That's beautiful. Oh my God, what a songwriter. I love talking to other songwriters because it's like, there's that song capsule concept where it's like, what are the two lines that like make this song? And it's like, that was the most songwriter-esque way to end that. That was so perfect. That was really beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, truly. It's great too. That's astounding. And it's really just the recording, everything just hits really beautifully in like all the YouTube versions. It's astounding. I can't wait to see you play it sometime.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for having me, Daniel. I love talking, and hopefully we'll see each other in person someday.
I would love that. I really would. Yeah. Safe travels wherever you go. And I wish you and your family well in this time. I'll talk to you all later.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Supernova by Miss Caitlyn Smith. Oh my God. Go stream it yesterday. Go buy it today. Get in tune with what she's doing. Follow her. See what she's up to. She's a fantastic mother, fantastic human to talk to, and more importantly, a fantastic artist. Oh my gosh. She just puts out the truth and she means it and she performs it. It's beautiful. I'm a big fan. I listen to I Can't, her song, pretty much every day when I'm on my run. So the music we're listening to today is Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, Cannonball Rag, a fantastic version. We listened to Everything to You by Caitlyn Smith, a solo banjo version, which I love. And we were listening to a 1978 version of Bertha by the Grateful Dead. If y'all dig the podcast, please do indeed leave a comment. Leave a comment and subscribe. That would mean the absolute world. And stay supportive to us on Patreon, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Everywhere, man. Join the Cosmic Country Club on DanielDonato.com. Holy shit, you haven't done that yet? Shh. You are just sincerely missing out on some stellar weekly emails that I type in this very studio. Y'all stay patient, stay persistent, stay positive. Most importantly, stay cosmic.